Pirates of Sirens' Call by Ronald Baldwin. Narrated by Aaron Mask. Chapter 1. The Tempest. The waves crashed against the hull of the Siren's Call with relentless force, the ship groaning under the strain as it sailed through the stormy night. Captain Eliza Thorne stood at the helm, her hands steady on the wheel despite the tempest raging around her. Her dark hair whipped in the wind, and her eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the horizon for the faintest hint of land. "Hold steady, lads!" she shouted over the roar of the storm. "We'll see dawn yet!" The crew, hardened men who had faced countless perils under her command, scrambled to secure the sails and keep the ship on course. They trusted Eliza with their lives, for she had never led them astray. Her reputation as one of the fiercest pirates to ever sail the seven seas was well earned, and her crew's loyalty was unshakable. Below deck, in the dim light of the lanterns, young Jacob Reed huddled with his fellow deckhands. He was new to the pirate life, having joined the crew just a few months prior. The storm had him on edge, but the camaraderie of the seasoned pirates around him provided him some comfort. "Is it always like this?" Jacob asked, his voice barely audible over the cacophony above. An older pirate named Flint chuckled, his weathered face creasing into a grin. "Aye, lad, the sea's a fickle mistress, but the captain, she's got a way with her. We'll be fine." Jacob nodded, trying to muster the same confidence. He had heard tales of Captain Eliza Thorne long before he had joined the crew. Stories of her cunning, her bravery, and the legendary treasure she was said to be searching for. It was the treasure that had lured him to the Siren's Call, a promise of riches and adventure beyond his wildest dreams. As the storm began to subside, the first light of dawn pierced through the dark clouds. The crew emerged from the bowels of the ship, weary but relieved to see the worst of the tempest behind them. Captain Thorne remained at the helm, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "There," she said, pointing ahead, "the Isle of Shadows." A collective gasp rippled through the crew. The Isle of Shadows was shrouded in myth and legend, said to be home to untold riches and deadly dangers. No pirate had ever ventured there and returned to tell the tale. But Eliza Thorne was no ordinary pirate. Chapter 2. The Isle of Shadows. The Siren's Call anchored just off the island's rocky shore, and Eliza gathered her crew on deck. "Listen well, everyone," she said, her voice firm. "The island is treacherous, but the treasure we seek is worth the risk. Stay close, follow my lead, and we'll all be richer than kings." With weapons at the ready, the pirates disembarked and made their way through the dense jungle that covered the island. The air was thick with humidity, and the cries of unseen creatures echoed around them. Jacob stayed close to Flint, his heart pounding with both fear and excitement. After hours of trekking through the jungle, they came upon a clearing. In the center stood an ancient stone temple, its walls covered in vines and moss. Captain Thorne approached the entrance cautiously, her eyes narrowing as she studied the carvings that adorned the doorway. "These symbols," she murmured, tracing her fingers over the weathered stone. "I've seen them before. They're a map." "A map to what, Captain?" Flint asked. Eliza turned to her crew, a fierce determination in her eyes. "A map to the treasure. Stay alert. There are bound to be traps." They ventured into the temple, torches casting flickering shadows on the walls. The air inside was cool and damp, and every step echoed ominously. The crew moved slowly, wary of hidden dangers. Jacob's pulse quickened as he followed closely behind Eliza, his eyes scanning the dark passageways. Suddenly, a series of clicks sounded beneath their feet. "Back!" Eliza shouted, pushing Jacob aside just as a row of arrows shot from the walls, narrowly missing them. "Keep your wits about you," she warned. "This place is designed to kill." They continued deeper into the temple, encountering more traps and puzzles along the way. Each obstacle seemed designed to test their resolve. But Eliza's leadership and the crew's perseverance saw them through. Finally, they reached a large chamber, its ceiling high and its walls adorned with gold and jewels. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, upon which rested a chest. Eliza approached it slowly, her hand hovering over the lid. "This is it," she whispered. "The captain's legacy." She opened the chest, revealing a dazzling array of treasure: gold coins, gemstones, and intricately crafted artifacts. The crew cheered, their faces alight with triumph. Jacob could hardly believe his eyes. This was more wealth than he had ever imagined. Chapter 3. The Map. But as Eliza reached into the chest, her expression changed. Beneath the glittering hoard lay a parchment, old and brittle. She carefully unrolled it, her eyes scanning the ancient script. "What is it, Captain?" Flint asked, noticing her sudden seriousness. Eliza looked up, her face pale. "It's a map. Not to treasure, but to something far more valuable." The crew fell silent, curiosity and concern etched on their faces. "What could be more valuable than this?" Jacob asked, gesturing to the treasure. Eliza's eyes gleamed with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "The Fountain of Youth." A murmur of disbelief spread through the crew. The Fountain of Youth was a legend among legends, said to grant eternal life to those who drank from it. If it truly existed, it was the ultimate prize. "We're going after it," Eliza declared, rolling up the parchment. "But we must be cautious. There will be others who seek it.